went pretty big in England.
Pretty big. 9 weeks, 91. Can't complain. Been selling quite a lot, yes. Opened up a very sort of completely new market for us. And, it's exactly what we wanted to do. Well, I mean, we just wanted to, well, anybody does, just wants to hit as many people as they can. And we just felt, and we had a lot of confidence in this song, and we just felt we need to put it out as 6 minutes. To chop it down would have been good, it would have been a hit or whatever, but it wouldn't have made such a breakthrough. We just wanted to.
What was the new market?
Well, it's just just a different market. It's a market that
Older.
Yeah, people that hadn't wanting to. Yes, it was a different. It was sort of because of our I don't know, things sort of sheer heart attack were sort of growing, and it's we've been hitting to a different market with sort of Bohemian Rhapsody completely opened up. I think because it was a hit, and then when it stayed there for so long, it sort of brought in completely new people, sort of the older people, the housewives and things. It's like somebody quoted, somebody said that one of our shows back home, there was a cross section of sort of teeny boppers, the college types, and perfumed housewives and things like that, which is quite a nice way of looking at it. That's what's, for people to buy, in the excess of something like over 1.25 million singles, that works out as a sort of ratio, something like 1 in every 40, 1 in every 45 people bought it back home, which is it's quite staggering for me to think who are buying it after the normal people who don't buy records support it. It must be the mums and dads. And
well, this is like your current album is your fourth or fifth?
Yeah, fourth album.
And
Night at the Opera. And what?
Well, it just seems that's it just used to be that if there wasn't a hit on the first one, was the band popular in England as of the first album?
Oh yes, yeah. When we released the first album, it was sort of it took a while. I think it was much more successful here, the first album, than back home. But things were sort of reversed. So we didn't sort of suddenly rush over here because we knew the first album was breaking quicker than back home. We just kept it going. We believed in what we were doing, and we waited till the second album was released, and then we came over here. Meanwhile, we were still. It was a funny sort of start. We made a name as a sort of stage band to start with back home. So we had quite a sort of following, and then when the records were released, they started selling okay, but it never really caught fire until, say, the second album back home with Seven Seas of Rye, which was a second single right there. And that sort of went into the top 10, and that more or less sort of established us as an entity. And then from there, the tours and the way we did it, it just went, it gradually progressed. And with Sheer Heart Attack, it sort of more or less just about did it, we were sort of, we were there kind of thing. But then with this new onslaught with Bohemian Rhapsody, it completely opened up. It sort of went broader. You know what I mean? And we were up there with Sheer Heart Attack, and suddenly it opened up a completely different field and put us in a category of our own, which is what we wanted. So now it's sort of we can really sit back and do exactly the things that we want to. And I think that's what's happening here.
Meaning, you're aiming at longevity more than just being.
Oh, of course. That's always been our sort of thing, really. We've never sort of wanted to stay in one particular category. We've always sort of our approach has always been universal. And that's why we've been around the world. Every time we make an album, it's just a similar cycle. We make an album and then we promote it. That doesn't mean we just stay in a place where it's happening. We hit all markets. And we've done a British tour for this one. We've come over here, and from here we go to Japan and then Australia. And then we go back home and do Europe.
How long has the band been together now?
About 5 years. 5 years. But 3.5 years with a recording contract. Queen were formed well before we ever had a recording contract. So the initial sort of a year or so was just really getting together, getting to grips with each other to make sure it was going to work. We were going through universities and things, getting our degrees, such like. We just wanted to make sure that before we took the plunge, we were ready for it. We weren't really sort of rushing into things, and it's helped. It's helped.
What was the initial motivation to the thing? Was it going to be did it start out as just a hobby type thing, or?
Not so much, because I mean the hobby part of it was in when we were in other bands before, and it's then when we sort of met each other and we felt that our musical ideas would blend and it would be very strong, and then we should be taken seriously. So we thought, look, because we had very strong backgrounds and careers, we could have easily gone and done those. We sort of qualified. So I mean, it was, we had to think twice before we. And above it all, we wanted to do something that we were interested in, something that would be long lasting, not a flippant sort of encounter.
So you weren't a bar band to start with?
No, exactly. We'd done all this. So I mean, when we formed Queen, we thought, look, we're going to be taken seriously. So we aren't going to go around trudging ourselves, doing the ordinary nightclubs and we just wanted to make sure that it was quality and we were sort of handled right. That's why it took such a long while to get the right people. And in the early days, we thought we had the right sort of. We have the right company now, but management-wise, we were sort of we hadn't made the right choice in the early days. Subsequently, we have new management now, and everything's looking just running. It's come. Yeah.
You have I know you all have degrees, but I don't know
what kind.
What kind or?
Well, Brian has a BSc in physics, which is I don't know what the American equivalent is. But he has a sort of PhD in astronomy, which is like a doctor. It sounds
right.
very weird.
Yes.
He hasn't quite finished it, but it's one of those things that you write it up. But he's done 6 years of that, and 3 years with physics BSc. So that's his. Roger has a BSc in biology, which he's done. He started off being a dentist, but he gave that up and did a BSc in biology. John has a first class honours degree in electronics, which is BSc as well. It's the first class, which is a bit special.
Doesn't he write, somebody told me he wrote a paper, writes papers for...
That's Brian. Brian does that for astronomy. He goes into proper journals and sort of... Because in astronomy, that's not the various field, and he sort of concentrates on what's infrared astronomy, which is and he sort of majored in a thing called zodiacal dust, which is a sort of, it gets very complex anyway, and that's one of the things that nobody else has actually delved in, so that he did research on it, and anything he finds goes into the journal. So he's like, his sort of findings are sort of in the logs and going for people to
So you could probably get a job in a laboratory or something.
Oh, easily, yeah. I should think if he wanted to do that, but he wants to be a rock star. And I have a diploma in college diploma in graphics and illustration. I'm the only one that comes from the arts. The other three are scientists.
Oh, I thought you were a scientist too.
No, my God, I couldn't.
How do the scientists blend with the artists?
Pretty well. It's quite good. It's nice to have that sort of cross section between the four of us. So then when we come together, it's quite a good blend. It would be awfully boring if we were all from the same, because we'd all have similar sort of tastes and ideas, and that wouldn't work. This way we cover a large sort of area. And but the blend is there. See, that's very important. We could be four totally different, which we are, totally individuals, but we somehow our ideas seem to blend somewhere along the line, which is important. If we missed each other, then we would totally be, trying to find each other, and not getting anywhere.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty clear idea of what you want to do, both like in terms of career and the music.
More or less. I wouldn't like to say that everything that we do is absolutely clear cut and planned, because that would be sort of be too rigid. We have very strict. We're very disciplined. we like to be in control of everything we do, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's all cut, clean and clean, and cut and rigid and clear. There's a lot of it is spontaneity. A lot of things happen, and we take that into consideration. Like making an album in a studio. It is routine, and a lot of it is planned. The structures of the songs are there. Otherwise, you forever be using studio time and wasting studio time. But a lot of things can happen in the studio, and it is spontaneity. And in the end, certain things come to life in the studio, and we take it from there, step by step.
Did you study music in college?
Not in college. In the very, very early days, I did classical training in piano. I did grades. I did up to grade 4, and then gave it up because I just felt that wasn't the kind of line I wanted to proceed on. And I gave it up, and most of my things I do now is by ear. I just play music by ear, and it was self-taught. Same as Brian. Brian he took piano lessons, about the same kind of thing that I did in the very, very early days. But then he's self-taught. He taught guitar himself. Built his own guitar.
So what got you over interested in rock, or was it just?
Oh, it's just influences. I mean, music was always a part of me, and that's sort of being a choir boy, things like that. No, I wanted to sing. The interest was there, and from it being a sort of constant hobby, it sort of grew, and grew very interested. And then there always comes a point in time where you want to make a decision whether you feel you're strong enough to make it a career, and that's how we felt. And I said, oh yeah, certainly.
Did you find you have any trouble in your mind squaring the idea that you have a college diploma and that everybody else does too, and the idea of being a rock and roll star, which is kind of I mean, you don't think of people going to school and then becoming rock and roll stars, you know what I mean?
No, I don't quite.
I mean, it's not the type of profession that people have thought took much brains in the past. Maybe that's
I know
different.
things have changed now. I mean, there's always been this sort of thing about rock and roll artists being art school rejects or things like that. I think things have changed. It's become it's become much more mature. The whole sort of industry, and I think to survive these days, you've got to have a certain amount of intelligence, and I think that's not a bad thing. And being a musician doesn't mean that you don't know anything else. I think things have changed now. I mean, a lot of it is. I mean, take us for example. I mean, we just don't stop at being musicians. It's sort of we've taken the project as a whole. I mean, we almost become businessmen now, because that's what it's all about. And the bigger it grows, the firmer the competition. And it's so competitive now. To survive, you've got to know all these things, otherwise you just get swallowed up and eaten up by all the sharks and the kind of people that exist. So you've got to be on top of it all, just one step ahead, I feel. Otherwise that's if you're in it for the long term, long lasting, like you say, which is what we are, for the music to sort of succeed to that category, to that extent.
So in a way,
the background has helped, of course. In a way that has certainly helped. It's made us approach it we've approached it sensibly, sort of intelligently, and taken into account all kinds of traumas and things that can happen along the way. One can easily give up. A lot of bands are on the wayside because of it. They feel, oh well, they've given up too early. They feel that's all they can do. But you've got to think of it in the long term, and we've had so many setbacks, and I could just rattle you off a series of events that could have made a lesser group just give up. But I mean, it's through sheer arrogance and confidence, and you've got to have all these attributes to make it, so keep you going.
So in a way, the business probably helps keep it interesting. I mean,
of course it does. Yes. Now, I mean, especially now, we have our own sort of company back home. It's like Productions and Queen Music Limited and things. And that's given us a better, sort of, it is more interesting and a bigger insight into it all. So therefore we have to keep that going. And, but we worked for it, you know, and we've got this. We've had a lot of setbacks. Our previous management didn't work, and that was a very hard blow on us. We almost gave up. Very near to it, but we just felt that our music was the strong thing that kept us going. We felt that it's somehow or other we would get through. Talent will out, as they say. And,
You used to be the band. Well, talking maybe. It's getting to be like a long time ago now, but it seemed that if there was, a band would get together, they would play bars, and they'd cut a single, and then, then maybe they'd hit with a single, and they'd last.
That's one of the approaches. Yes, that's still true.
Yeah,
that's one of the hardest things in this business is to be recognised in the early days. We had that too. We knew that the reason. I think what probably made it easy in a funny way is that we knew we had these hardships in the early days. Because Brian and Roger had been through all that in a group of their own before called Smile, and I'd been through other ones. And we'd known that there are managers who rip you off and just sign you. And it's very easy in the early days to sign the first piece of paper that's put in front of you because you think, wow, a recording contract. You're going to be a star. You're going to get to finally record and all that. And you can get lost in the sort of in the early sort of what's the word? You're so full of it, so vibrant, and you can get lost in that and forget the business side of it. And you're so eager to just record and put a product out. And we'd learned through the early past mistakes not to be, not to get awed by the first sort of offer that you got. And so we took it that way. We went through every major company that was available, and we just took it from there. And then we went to what we thought was going to be the right company, and we made the right choice. Electra in this company, EMI, back home.
You also had, I don't know if this made any difference, but you also had the degrees, and I suppose degrees. You weren't as desperate. The college diplomas, you didn't. Maybe you weren't as desperate. It wasn't like your only way out. You always had the.
True, but you see, once we decided on the fact that we were going to be musicians, and we just had to forget those degrees. We really did. It was like they didn't exist. They don't really help us now. It's nice to know.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's nice to know that we can fall back on it. I suppose we could. But it's just a full-time occupation. And we've certainly, we haven't just sort of taken this on as okay, if it doesn't work. We have. It's got to work now for us.
Well, what if it fell through? Could you see going into
We've never ever considered
graphics?
that. We've never ever considered that. Ask
Have
us
you
I could.
personally?
Me personally. I'm afraid I've just, it's got into the blood now. There's no way of turning back. If this project, let's say Queen, ever fell through, which I can't foresee it anyway, but if it did, it would always be in the music industry. It would always be in some sort of capacity as coordinating producer.
You wouldn't go back to graphics?
No, I don't think so. The only way I like that tags along is in art covers and things like that, and basic ideas of if you want publicity shots back home or whatever, and that kind of thing. But that way the album covers and the whole packaging and things like that comes in handy. Programs and publicity. So we take a hand in all that. So that, my artistic side of that comes in handy. So I'm quite pleased with that. And I'm willing to let that, be a secondary thing now. And music is the prime function.
Who were you listening to when you started out? Who were your influences?
Quite a few people. Early days it was sort of Hendrix, the Beatles, John Lennon, and it grew to very varied, Liza Minnelli, Mae West, all those kind of people.
Did you ever listen to Sinatra?
Sinatra.
You were a fan?
Really. Am I a fan of Sinatra? No, I wouldn't call it. I admire the man. I don't. I'm not a very good listener, I must tell you. So I listen, when I have my time off, I listen to Joni Mitchell, people Zeppelin. I listen to.
Back in the early days, it was. I mean, it shows in the harmonies and all that stuff.
It was, yeah. Well,
I mean, you aren't playing like. You don't really play just bash it out type music.
oh no, I think since the early days, things have changed as well, become more sophisticated, and we've disciplined ourselves, and our songs are getting stronger. So it's basically one learns a lot with one's past work, that kind of thing. We sort of, instead of listening to other people, I mean, sure we do listen to a lot between the four of us, but I think what's really a very good thing to gauge it on is as our past work. We listen back a lot and think of what we could have done better and what things not to have done, and we discipline ourselves, and that's what's really important. We've sort of grown and grown. We've spent a lot of time in the studios now. We have had 4 albums, and that's helped a lot. We've learned to use the studio facilities, and I've learned a lot by listening back to my own material, and working out the best way of putting songs together, the actual structures of songs.
So you really see it going on for a long time. I mean, you really see could you see yourself at like what's Frank Sinatra's 60 or something like that? Could you see him?
I'd like to think that. It's nice to say that. Oh yeah, but I mean, anything can happen.
But I mean, you could see that. I mean,
yeah, in one capacity.
Yeah,
I'd like to say that definitely one way or other we would be involved in music. Whether it be in the next few years or 10 or 20 years time.
I guess
I can see myself getting involved in production and helping out other people. I've already done that.
Instead of.
Well, I can't imagine me doing rock and roll when I'm about 40.
But I mean, maybe what I was getting at, I guess, is rock and roll, whatever that is exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Is that mutating into a sort of? I mean, it's definitely fragmenting, and is it? Will it? I mean, your audience is growing up with you.
I think so. Will there become a?
I mean, you might want to play softer music or something like that.
We do play soft music. I mean, softer than what it is now.
Well, you might want to play something along the lines of "Strangers in the Night" or something like that.
Well, if that happens, I think. Let's see. By that time, we would have probably gone through such a different change. I haven't a clue actually. I don't know. I can't see myself, especially as a Frank Sinatra kind of thing. I think I probably, if I can't get out and jig around and do my rock and roll, I think I'd sort of move into a different circle, and it's like, I don't know, whether it be films or whatever. But I still feel like trying to put across what I can, in one area or another, try and do it, try the production, because that's really interesting, doing it for other people. I found that out. Did a little production thing just before I came out, just a single for a friend of mine, and then it was something new. I'm always looking forward to doing new, sort of different, newer things, and it's still within the musical framework, and that's quite good. It's endless. It's endless. You can do so many things. So I haven't got bored yet.
Yeah, does it ever strike you as, I mean, your audience is maybe apparently they're getting older, it seems. No, I mean,
still maintaining the young ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just feel we're hitting. Yeah.
Do you ever say to yourself when you're walking on stage, there's a 13-year-old kid sitting in the front row saying, I got a degree, I got a college education. Isn't this kind of stupid? I'm playing entertaining a 13-year-old. I mean, does it ever? Do you ever feel funny about it?
Just missed the point completely. You must be. If you.
No, I'm just thinking of how I would feel.
Exactly, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
I think. Do you think you would take on that attitude if you suddenly were put in a? See, number one is,
I might feel
we're doing something that from our own sort of doing. It's not something that we're doing because we don't like it. This is our, everything we do is what we want to do. We're not pushed into anything we don't want to do. And if I didn't like the kind of music we played,
well, it doesn't
but
seem
it is
particularly geared towards a 13-year audience. I mean, it's fairly
certainly not.
sophisticated.
We're not. Well, I agree. So, what I'm trying to say is, I certainly do not want to put our music in a certain category where we say, look, we only want to appeal to so-and-so, and that would be the most awful thing to do. I think we just want to. Our music is that. I just want everybody, from the Eskimo up there to just about everybody, because that's what it's all about. That's what's most rewarding, is that anybody from any sort of road of life can come up and like it. And that's really rewarding. I'd hate to sort of.
So you're not a snob. I guess I'm a snob. I mean.
Oh, I'm a snob in many ways, but I mean that's something. I mean you're just defeating the object of what you want to do with it. If that was your attitude in music, what do you need? I can't say many. I suppose there are a few people who just want to appeal to a certain. But that becomes a minority then, I suppose you can, if you want to sort of live in a minority, I suppose you can be snobbing and just say, look, I want to cater for just the upper class or whatever. I could easily do that. I mean, it's pointless. Music should be for everybody. And what's nice, what's the best thing about it is to know that you can. I mean, there's so many bands that can only appeal to a certain category, isn't it? I mean, it's either sort of like, either a teeny bot market or whatever, and then this, they just work their way to try and cater for rock and roll. Yeah, I think that kind of thing. And what better than for us to suddenly be confronted with something that can be flexible, that can go either way. I think that's what our music is about, and it's nice to know that it's coming across that way.
Do you think it's always your music that's coming across?
I think so. Because, especially now, I'm more confident than ever. Because in the early days, it was what we wanted to do is just our music, and we just wanted everyone to hear it. But especially back home, there were musical papers or whatever. They just want to put you in a category that they feel you are a so-called glitter band, or you're a rock and roll band, or you're a something band, and we just wouldn't. We didn't fit in any specific category, and that's where we didn't get on with the press back home, and there was just always these numerous ways and we wouldn't. And but we've finally broken through sheer sheer audacity. But it's because of the musical power. Now that it's broken through, they've sort of realised it, and it's working for us.
But to a lot of these
youngsters,
I say, I don't.
Okay.
That makes.
You are a snob.
Oh,
Go
I
on.
say,
Go
yeah,
on.
I'm horrible.
If you write, if you write this article, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you? What is this is Cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does Cream cater for? What kind of age group? What kind of audience?
Supposedly our audience is between, I would say 17 to and younger to
give me an age group. Come on.
say
15.
15 to,
Okay, 15 to
23.
23,
24.
you reckon, right? Okay. Now, if say suddenly you wrote an article and your ratings went up, but you found out that the reason the ratings went up is because quite a few 12 to 15 were buying it. Would that deter you from say it was your article, say it was this article which you wrote, you suddenly realized that the sales went skyrocketing because there was this one article which was quite amazing, and you found that it was the 12 to 15 age group which found it so interesting they went out, rushed out and bought it. Alongside with this 15 to 23, would you bring them down and say, look, I don't want you to read this article, or would you be...
Well, I've gotten,
that's the thing.
We get letters from and I get a letter from a 12-year-old that says, I really like the way you told me about this guy or that guy, and they say, yeah, that's nice.
But then if you were not a snob, you would say, look, I don't cater for you, you shouldn't buy my things. Which is wrong, that's the whole...
Well, I suppose, you have, one has pretensions to being taken seriously by adults.
Yes, but I mean, what I'm saying is, if you already have been, then I think you should Oh, certainly. I mean, if our music was just like, because of course I want to appeal to mature, kind of mature audience or whatever. But if we were only appealing to the younger ones, all the screamers, and that was all, then of course I'd feel very let down, because I'd say, look, you're not the only ones I'm catering for, but and there are other people who I want. My music is mature and I want them to listen to it. But I think it's wrong to sort of try and just say, well, this is the market.
Oh no, you're right. I mean, that's very. I think you're right. I maybe
Yeah,
I'm
but
a
I think
little
it's nice to. I think art should be limitless. It should be. There should be no boundaries. I think it's a godsend that you can get, cross section of people liking it, who are so totally different from, one might be a housewife and one might be a. And if they come together on this one piece of music, that's quite something, and that's really rewarding.
Don't you think that? I mean, I think you're sort of a sex symbol to some of these kids. I mean, do you think that?
But I don't stop there. Yes, go on. Do I think one?
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that some of them possibly take you just on a level that you're a sex symbol? This is
Yes,
my
but I
hero.
can't stop. Let me see. What does? I know some of them do. Some of them, but that's.
You think that's minimal force?
Of course it is. It's just an aspect of me, and I mean, do you know?
No.
I don't. I'm very aware of it, but that's all the ingredients of making the whole thing work. I mean, that's not the only thing. There's all kinds of things. There's I put that in the category of image, right? Which is like just the kind of image that we portray. I mean, I come across as a sex symbol to a lot of people. There's musicianship in me. A lot of people, I don't think I'm a good musician. My singing ability and things like that. Those are all ingredients, and they all make up this blend. It's got to be to reach the kind of people we want to. It's got to work on every aspect.
Is it fun being a sex symbol to these? I mean, to people? I suppose
Of course
a lot of eyes. Yeah.
Of course it is. I mean, I don't outwardly sort of think of myself. Oh, today I was a sex symbol. What should I do? It's just put that as a role that I have to sort of portray in being in the front there. And that's my sort of work and my task in this. My role that I have to sort of fulfill in Queen. And most labels are usually conjured up by the media, really, and you have to sort of go along with them. You sort of, you know what I mean? It's sort of,
Yeah.
if there was
So
something,
I think something like a sex symbol is accepted. The media may print your picture, but it doesn't mean that you'll be a sex symbol.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
yeah, by that you're saying
that the media just reflects what the public, which we to an extent sometimes. Things
it can be the other way around. The media tells people what to accept.
Yeah. But so you're at ease with that.
Am I what?
You're at ease with the whole idea of.
Yeah, as long as you don't get rolled over by it. As long as you don't get too serious. It's like reading your reviews. You have to take the rough with the smooth. I mean, if you got too involved with what everybody said, then I mean that's it just becomes beside the point. You've got to sort of maintain your integrity and do what you feel best, and just hope that take the rough with the smooth and keep going and do it that way. I mean, there's numerous articles written about us, about me, which are sort of some lengths totally extreme and totally ludicrous. You can't take that seriously.
Does it bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just something you read and one must go on, one must carry on.
Do you read them? Do you occasionally agree with something? Somebody makes a point.
Certainly. There are a lot of there are a lot of articles. I don't read just about every article that's put in front of me that's about us, just to see what. And in the end, it's only one person's opinion. after all. But it's nice to know what they think. And I mean, some of them, I can deal with fair criticism. Sometimes you can tell when an article is well written and where to put across okay, and that's when the criticism is justified. That's when you can read it and know if maybe this person is right or whatever he's trying to get through by reading the whole article and seeing how he sort of constructed the article. But there are articles back home where they just do a review of an album or whatever, and they listen to 2 or 3 tracks and they say, oh well, yes, I know what the album's all about, things like that, and then they state you wrongly, and then they sort of misquote you all over the place, or they put across false information, which is to the there were articles before back home where they said we were we were a well constructed group by the record company. We didn't write our own songs and things like that. And that's false information, which is. And what do you do to it when you just tear it up? It's just. But I do read. I read. Of course, one must.
We were talking about rock and roll, and I was thinking, to a certain extent, your music is. It doesn't always stick with like a steady 4/4.
No.
It's
well,
it's not constructed. It's not.
It's not rigid. Yeah. Is it, you're trying to say it's complex.
I'm trying to ask: is it rock and roll? Is that or
that is our. I mean, you keep using this rock and roll. You keep saying the same thing. Rock and roll is such a. It's such a totally superficial word, really. Now, rock and roll means so many things.
Well, I always thought of it as very something. I don't think of a lot of things as rock and roll anymore. I don't necessarily.
Well, that's your interpretation of it.
Yeah, right. Sure, but
I think we're. Oh God, I think our music is just Queen. I don't. That's our music. I mean, it falls into rock and roll, but we can do lots of things. I mean, rock and roll is forever changing. I feel we're just doing. To you, I suppose rock and roll is a rigid sort of strict tempo beat, and a sort of something that is touch simplified, sort of, right?
Yeah, and I think of.
But I think the way we feel that rock and roll is that we just put in, we just work in textures of music. I mean, we put in, that the basics of rock and roll is there underneath it, but we just want to elaborate it and take it one step further, and with harmonies and things that we just enhance it. So that's our kind of rock and roll. I still think it's rock and roll. But if you call it something else, it wouldn't.
I don't know what to call it. Right?
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that I was saying before. It's it can hit different levels. That's the one thing I was saying before, that the journalists back home wanted to put us in a kind of category by listening to our music, and they couldn't, because they were saying, look, suddenly they'd listen to something else, and they say, oh, but now they can do something else. Well, maybe they're, and we completely lost them. It's just, we can't put a label on it because we don't want to. We just do. And every album changes, and we just what we are doing now, I feel, is just basically writing very strong songs. Melodies are very strong content, and that's good to know.
Some of the stuff is it. What's the second cut on the? I think it's the first side on the new album. Song by you.
Lazing on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Very.
It's almost a
vaudeville,
Gilbert and Sullivan type thing, almost.
It's nice. I'm interested in those kind of things. I like it. Same way. And there's another track called Seaside Rendezvous, which is a last track, which is very light and airy, and very no cowardice. But that's nice. I like to feel that I can write songs in different atmospheres and in different sort of giving the time. And I'm thinking, why not? I don't want to have to write a song which is successful because I know the format's going to work. Therefore, it's going to be so boring for me. I want to try my hand at different things because I can do it, and I want to do it.
Do you have any interest in writing, say, a musical?
I don't know. I think the idea appeals to me, but at the moment I think we're so involved with doing basically doing albums.
Well, could you see the band doing music. I mean, they call them, they called them rock operas for a while, but they weren't really.
Oh gosh.
I noticed that you called the new album is not a concept album, but it was called Night at the Opera, and
It's got nothing to do with
it's got nothing to do with rock. Thank God.
You used to want to say, but it's sort of I personally hate the idea of this concept. What's it? If there isn't one. Basically, this album is just an accumulation of very strong songs, which I feel they stand out on their own, if lifted out. It's one of those things. So it's not a concept. They're just basically songs, and basically strong songs in their own right. And it was very difficult to try and get a sort of an accumulation of songs such as these and give them a title. And we just felt that there was one which had an operatic sort of content to it, which is Bohemian Rhapsody, our sort of version of opera in that thing. And we just felt that we could work around that and just give it a sort of title. And Night of the Opera was...
it's tongue-in-cheek.
I think to a certain extent, of course it is. Of course it is. It's just a sort of way of tying it all up. It's not concept, right? But just tying this whole sort of bag up and giving it a sort of, giving it a ribbon.
Well, working with like you were so intent on putting out Bohemian Rhapsody, the full 6 minutes.
Yeah. Because
it seems that you'd want to work in longer formats.
No, it's just that the way we felt at this point in time wasn't. That doesn't mean that from now on we're just going to put across it. We just felt that this particular song, to be heard and to get its full sort of content over, had to be done in the 6 minutes. It would be ludicrous to just chop it up because it just wouldn't come across as what we wanted to put. I mean, if it could be done.
I can see that. I just thought that. So you have an interest in writing maybe something a bit longer that develops thematically, like not only musically but like Bohemian Rhapsody reminded me. This may be off the wall, but of something a little bit like West Side Story or something like that.
Oh, how nice! That's nice.
Just in the way that
it's got a lot of drama and things. I feel it was one of the songs that had quite a few sort of changes, but all within Queen, and we just felt that would be. It was written as an album track, of course, and it wasn't something that was like conjured up basically as a single. We didn't sort of set about saying, no, we're going to sort of stun the public by coming up with a 6 minute single and be outrageous as well. It's just something that evolved from making an album. We just felt that this as a single would showcase what we're trying to do at a certain point, more so than any other track. And we just felt, we said Bohemian Rhapsody is great. I mean, when we found out that, look, it's going to be 6 minutes, what do we do? And we just felt that it was, for it to be released, as I said before, it would be far stronger for it to be released in its entirety than chop it up. So we took the risk and we said, let's take a risk. Doesn't matter if it goes above a lot of people's heads, but at least we will have released something that we're proud of, and musically, it's done, and it's worked for us back home, which is what is so rewarding. Because if it was a hit and we chopped it up, we would forever be kicking ourselves and thinking, God, wouldn't it have been great if all of it was out? And I kept saying that to myself when there was a debate, when we had a discussion of trying to trim it down to 3 minutes, that if it's going to be a hit, we might as well put everything out. It's going to be far more rewarding and, much more respect.
Can you tell me what it's about? You can't.
No, because it's
self-explanatory, or is it?
I think it should be interpreted by the listener, and put he or she should put his own interpretation to it. I would hate to. It's like going to see a film or reading a book and then going to see a film. I just don't. Or reading the book afterwards. I don't. It hasn't been going round.
It has?
I would hate to shatter anybody's sort of illusions or sort of thing that they've conjured up. I'd like to think it's basically sort of fantasy.
Yeah,
and things like that ought to be. It's an escape of a sort, but with a certain twist of reality, I suppose. But I think it is best left like it is, otherwise it would. I'd hate, from my point of view, if I was listening to something, I'd hate for somebody to come up and say, look, I mean, after having conjured up a whole sort of picture of a song and getting right into it, suddenly the author or the writer coming up to me saying, well, this is what I meant, and I think, oh God, he's completely blown it from me, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Do you have any interest in making films, writing films, or something possibly based around a song? Or,
that idea appeals to me as well, but it's something that's way in the future. I'd like to sort of put across. There's so much more that Queen can do at the moment. It's we're just running crazy with ideas of what to do, what to do next, and so many things we want to try out within this sort of scope of just music. That I'd like to get that over with first, and then sort of with it will come other areas where we can we'll take it step by step. As it is, we're rushing it anyway. But I'd like to sort of go easy, not try and rush into too many things. Films and things. We made the nearest we've got to film is that we made a film of Bohemian Rhapsody, which was, coming back to your question, which is the nearest we've got. Something trying to put across that kind of musical feeling into a film of just us playing. I mean, obviously it wasn't not a kind of saying, no, this was. But even then, if you see this film, it's a step further. It's not just. You've got to see it. It's not just us performing. It's performing plus us in a very different mood, trying to put across this sort of the drama of it all. And it sort of worked. 6 minutes of it.
like stuff like Galileo.
Exactly.
I mean,
can you imagine how we would do it? But we
was it
put
an
that across
astronomer in the band? So I suppose that's.
It's just in the film we've captured it. We've done it in a sort of operatic sort of content.
I mean,
so we've
parts of it are nonsensical.
Good.
They're maybe they're funny almost. I mean,
yeah. You mean the opera bit? Yeah.
The Galileo.
Yeah, they are. So they're meant to be. You see, there's that's up to you. But they're meant to be. That's sort of. I wanted to use that section as just strict opera, but opera in the sense that a lot of for the layman. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to sort of put across the opera as a. I wasn't trying to tell people, look, this is an authentic piece of opera, which and I've done a lot of research into. Like, that's silly because I don't know that much about opera, but I was just trying to say, look, this is Queen's way of using operatic overtones in rock and roll, if that makes any sense. And therefore I had to call it cliches or whatever, and things like Galileo, and certain overused phrases in opera. Galileo's.
What's the point
to create? It was. I mean, one doesn't have to sort of keep to lyrical sort of format all the time. One can sort of. I mean, the thing I wanted to put across in that piece was just more drama and atmosphere more than anything. I wanted to create operatic voices and things. And in that sense, I think the lyrical content took second place. I was well aware of it. Yeah. I wanted to do that. I wanted the words for the sheer sort of lyrical. Not so much lyrical. The pronunciation sort of power than anything else.
The syllables.
Yes.
Do you laugh? Or did you laugh when you wrote that, or do you ever laugh when you write?
People laugh. I mean, I do laugh. I mean, when we sometimes come to the Galileo, especially because I got Roger to sing such. There's a very, very high sort of elements and things. They are sort of. At the point when we're actually doing them, it's quite possible. One must try and keep a straight face to put it across because, oh God, we have done some silly things in our time, but that did take the cake. Because we did do something like 180 voices between the three of us, four of us. And after you've done no about 180 times, you feel you're in a lunatic asylum, and you feel, is it all going to be worth it? But then it all falls together. It's funny, but it was. That thing, I just wanted to conjure up a sort of image in myself of it actually taking place on an operatic stage of this sort of, the whole scene, and I just wanted to do it with words, and just get the atmosphere across of cascading voices, having a kind of battle going, let him go, kind of chord thing. You know how operas do that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like,
are you an opera fan?
To a certain extent, I like to, not so much in the actual. I don't get completely lost in it, but I love to sort of see it actually taking place and how they execute the whole thing.
Do you go along?
I've never actually been to a proper sort of opera thing. I've gone to ballet and things, but I'll watch it if there is an opera on television and things. I really take interest. Magic Flute or something like that. Because it's nice to it's a different way of expressing yourself, and it's nice. I like to see that done.
So on stage, your show is very dramatic, and you're taking this. Is that the attitude you take towards performing? In that it's.
Yes, I like to try and think that I like to act out a few things. I feel that's that's important. We're just trying to enhance. Everything is to enhance the music, and I feel it's only on one level if you come and just play your music live. I think you have to take it in different levels and different. That's why we have a light show which enhances it even further, and to work with a light show and the music is a nice thing to do, and gestures and things are very important, and that's all part of the act. And, I feel that certain things can be brought up by just certain things, choreography, certain things, which is, and basically I feel that when people come to see us, we should put on a show, and so there's something to listen to and watch. And,
what do you think of a group like? Have you seen Kiss?
No, I haven't seen. I've heard a lot about them. I haven't seen them. I know they're very loud and they get onto a lot of theatrics on stage.
Yeah, they're very much into this theatrical thing, which is.
See, I've not seen them, but I mean, we are very aware of all this sort of to make sure that the theatrics don't take over from the music. And I feel there's so many things that we have tried out which we rejected solely because of this. That we want to make sure that the music is always there up front, and everything else is enhancing it. And we just don't want to lose ourselves in some things, because that would be, going totally the wrong way, defeating the object of it all. As long as that music is there, you don't feel we get. Do you feel that happens to us?
No, I think your music is very theatrical. And it's more formal and more stylized than Kiss is just from just loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
But they throw these theatrics in on top, and the music is kind of perfunctory, and the theatrics almost seem perfunctory.
Exactly the opposite for us. I would hate for us music to just be a guideline, as well as a sideline kind of thing. It's basically that. Yeah. Oh yeah. And even more so, we just want to. That's why we will not do certain songs which we do not feel that are going to come across in their full sort of value on stage, because I just feel that if we lose a song on stage, it's just not worth performing it. I'd rather just there are a lot of songs that are studio songs, and we'd like to keep them that way.
You mentioned before. You said that what you're doing is art.
No, what we're doing is art. I never said that. Obviously,
you said something like we have to put across our art this way. I mean, I was wondering, do you think of it as art?
Well, I think so. Yes, I think it's a form of art. I think it's a high standard. We maintain a high standard of music. It's quality that we put across, and we put our damnness into it to make sure that it stays that way. You can tell by our records that anything that's a compromise or anything that's second rate will never ever be put out. So we're very, very aware of that. We're very, very strict.
If you had to make a choice,
of
whether you wanted the people with your songs to make them laugh or cry, which would you choose?
Songs to make them laugh or cry.
Would you choose to make them laugh or make them cry?
I wouldn't want to choose. I'd hope there was both there anyway. I'd hate for anything to be just this one. I'd like to. Comedy tragedy is there. It has to be there. If you get too serious in one aspect, then I think that's where you do lose out. You must try and keep in tow way both ends of the scale. You must not try and get too serious in one area. I I feel our music can get the comedy, tragedy. And I wouldn't like to. I wouldn't like to have a choice. No. I wouldn't like to make a choice.
Because you do think that art should be able to do both. Right? It should, if it's just crying, then it's melodrama. And if it's just
Oh yes, I
laughing,
think
it's-
of course you should be able to do both. And I feel that depending on what song you write, I wouldn't like to just write kind of sad songs or whatever. Oh God, it should be. It should be limitless. The scope should be limitless, both in actually writing it and receiving it. So, there are no limits in the kind of art form we're in.
How do you write?
In a very uninspiring way. I just sit on my piano and work very hard at it. I'm not one of the goes on top of mountains that's inspired by surroundings or whatever. I just I lose myself. I just have to lock myself in my piano room, music room, and I just feel I just work on the piano and get my ideas together, and then I come back to it. Sometimes I have ideas which I leave in the back of my mind and go back to it when I suddenly feel it's coming. And but basically it's all by myself, and I just work it all out. And then I
Do you write?
yeah, I can. I have a sort of my own code of writing. I can write music, but it's painstaking and slow,
Yeah.
and I just feel that I can do it. It's sort of half music, half my own, so I can just interpret it in the
Right.
studio. And I have my own music manuscript, and then I sort of work out my own song structure and things like that. And most of it is in the head, because you've got to try and create the sort of the result, the end product in your head to see how it comes out, so you know what's going to do. But then, meanwhile, I present it to the others, and they have their ideas and things, and everybody sort of chips in their ideas. But basically, if I write a song, I'm in complete control of it. I have to sort of sit by it until the very end to make sure it's right. And that goes for the others. If Brian writes a song, he does the same.
So you have a pretty egalitarian relationship.
Yeah, but we do take a very, we sort of come together and fork out our ideas. Very numerous rounds and battles and debates for what should go on and what shouldn't. Kind of stuff.
The band is generally happy together. That you could see working, with this band. But
Oh yes, I mean, at the moment it's we're riding on the crest of a wave, and it's looking very promising. Yes, and it's looking very rewarding from the mere fact that our music is being accepted the way we want it, and the hard work's been paying off. It's paying off now. And we just carry on in the same tradition. Keep it that way. It's getting stronger and stronger, which is nice.
have you heard Patti Smith?
I have heard of her, I've never heard of her.
You've never heard?
I told you I'm a very bad
Yeah.
listener. I haven't heard of Bruce Springsteen. I've heard of him, but I haven't heard.
Yeah, I'd be interested what you thought of
Something.
Patti, and that she combines kind of this very primitive 3-chord rock with her kind of very heavily image-laden poetry, and she improvises lyrically,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, that's interesting.
well, it's interesting.
No, but she improvises lyrically on stage, does she?
Mhm.
Things like that. Oh, I could never do that. Not
Well, she eats a block of hashish before she goes on stage.
Oh well, so
So
that's her. That's where she gets her inspiration from.
it may be, but it works. It's not just a stoned out
No, I can.
rap. She's intelligent.
Mhm.
You're aware of 10cc? Have you heard of
Mhm.
that? Because in a lot of ways you remind me of each other.
It's not the first time. I think they're totally different.
They do.
Yeah. Because I have to look upon it as a musician. And on the overall, I suppose, yeah. So they do harmonies, we do harmonies, but it's totally different.